So I will record the session. Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining this event, which is a paper development workshop or chapter development workshop for the Handbook of Energy Policy. So we had a call for abstracts, and we received many abstracts, and out of those abstracts, part of them accepted, and we are pleased to have the authors of the accepted abstracts today. And today's event is for first of all knowing each other more and talking about the plan that each contributor has for writing the chapter. And we are here to have comments and hearing other contributors' idea in order to improve the work to the direction of the handbook. So by this, let me invite the welcoming remarks speakers, Professor Naoto Yoshikawa. Professor Naoto Yoshikawa is the Vice Chancellor for Global Initiative of Tokai University, Japan, and the professor at the Department of International Studies. Professor Yoshikawa, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Taghizadeh. Professor Shanshen Sun, Professor Dayong Chen, Dr. Taghizadeh. The session chairs, the presenters, distinguished guests, and colleagues. It gives me great pleasure as a Vice Chancellor of the Tokai University to welcome you to this workshop today. Today's workshop is marked for the forthcoming publication of the Handbook of Energy Policy. Just this week, crude oil price settled at a 3-year high, above $85 a barrel. As the economies are recovering globally from the COVID-19, there is an increasing energy demand, including fossil fuels. However, fossil fuel prices are expected to increase even more when the supply is controlled and insufficient to fill the demand. Therefore, taking the right energy policies, especially for the energy importers such as Japan and China, is required to minimize the negative impact of the energy price fluctuation on their economies and avoid possible economic instability. The necessity of the right energy policy in the current era is not just limited to fossil fuels, but more attention is needed to renewable and clean energy and sustainable sources. In the challenge of the COVID-19, due to the global recession and uncertainty about the future, the new investment in creating renewable and green energy and improving the energy efficiency shrunk drastically. Now that many governments are setting their economic recovery plans, there is more attention to economic growth and less attention to the green growth. Hence, in the post-COVID-19, the right energy policy is needed to foster the achievement of the related SDGs and the Paris Agreement on the climate change and enhance energy security. Today's workshop is joint event of the Tokai University, Southwestern University of Finance and Economics, China, the International Society for Energy Transition Studies, and Springer Nature publisher. I am confident that today's workshop will allow all participants to deepen their understanding of the energy policy. Moreover, I'm sure the fruitful discussion of today's workshop will help enhance the quality of the chapters in the Handbook of Energy Policy, which will be, I hope, helpful for researchers, practitioners, and government officials. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Yoshikawa, for the insightful welcoming remarks that's exactly showing the importance of right energy policy, especially in the post-COVID-19. Thank you very much. So next, I would like to invite the keynote speaker, Professor Jiansheng San. Professor Jiansheng San was a former Secretary General of the International Energy Forum, and currently is the Vice President and Director General of Energy Industry Cooperation Committee of China, China Council for International Investment Promotion, and he's the Council Chairman of the International Society for Energy Transition Studies. So Professor San, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. It's a pleasure to have you, so please.
Okay, thank you very much, Farhad. Dayong, Professor Nato, all the other ladies and gentlemen, friends, it's a very great honor for me to join you for this new workshop and the launching of the Handbook for Energy Policy. I feel that this meeting is very impressive and also very important for the future. So I'd like to take the chance to congratulate the Dayong and the group of team for this prepare such a very important handbook for the energy policies. And I noted that this book covers 5 very important sections or chapters. And I feel that this book, if you quickly published and then you maybe catch the eyeballs or many of the people, and probably this book can be a bestseller. And you know, recently a lot of new issues happens, and we can see that the energy policies plays a very important role. And I can see that many of our colleagues would like to put this book on the bookshelf, just like a handbook, and we will use more frequently. And I see that this book is related to the geopolitics and energy, the market and the trade issues, and also for the energy security and energy poverty issues. And as we know that during this energy transition period of time, and still a energy security and the poverty issue are the most important subjects for many the developing countries and the emerging countries. So I feel that this is very interesting the subjects. And also for the energy sustainability and for the innovation and technology progress, and these subjects also are the many of the key the issues for us to and for government to consider. And to finish, join and moderate the second Belt and Road the ministerial forum in Qingdao 2 days ago, and many of the ministers and the ambassadors joined that meeting. And I noted that this time very important feature is this time many people talk about the technology issues. So I feel that this is one of the very interesting subjects. And however, for the pricing and also for the financial issues are the important issue for us. And as we know that recently LNG prices in Europe and Northeast Asia are flying and rising 4, 5, 6 times higher than the Euro time. Although we haven't been to the winter season, but the prices is rising a lot. So this is the very hot issue. And however, for the energy efficiency and also for the market and the energy transition issues, this time in the second Belt and Road meeting in China, many ministers talk about these issues because the China's energy efficiency, if can be improved and come to the level of a German level, the energy consumption in China can be reduced about 50%. And of course, Japan even higher, even better. So we feel that a long way to go for many countries, especially for the country like China, because China is really a big energy producer and consumer. So I feel that this book, Handbook of Energy Policies, is a very good, important book. So I know all of this team are members to participate with this, and I expect this book can be one of the candidates for the bestseller, and you all become the famous writers. Now, I expect at that time I can get a book from Dayong, and then I wish all your writers can sign them for me. So I keep a gift for that one. Thank you very much for this one. And also, I'd like to share you a couple of my points. And I feel that the most hot issue in China recently is about the energy, the supply issue. So this issue starts from Europe, and even we know that in the United Kingdom, many gas stations a long queue, and many people cannot get this one. Now, even they use the drivers from the army to support for the transportation and shipping issues. And in China, and also very serious. Two, one is for the big consumption after the COVID-19 and under such a pandemic situation. But in China, this is situation much better. So many the manufacturers, the companies, and also for traveling resume. So by this reason, and the consumption is very high. And over 20 provinces, that means about 60–70% of the region and the cities, all they have the electricity control, because too much consumers and too much consumptions, and cannot supply so much. And also for the prices of the coal is even higher. For LNG, for the LNG prices, and for the prices of the TTF in Europe, it's come to $34 for the MMBTU. For the Northeast Asia, come to about $31 to $32 MMBTU. And China, this is a very hot issue and complaints from people, because over the 10 years in China, we never happened the cut the electricities by the regions, by the some of the factories, by the manufacturers. So because of too much, and several reasons. And one reason is the renewables cannot supply enough. Another reason is because of the investment issues. And also I feel that it's the management issue, it's a policy issue. So that is the reason why it's just not, I stress that the importance of the policies. So for the carbon, the peak and the carbon neutrality has a time 2030 and 2060. However, for the routes, for the methodologies, for the models, for the arrangement are also important. So I like to point out this issue, the most hot issue in China. This is my first point I'd like to share with you. And the second one I'd like to share with you, that is about the policy and the governance of these the energy issues. And I feel that the energy transition and the carbon neutrality and also the energy development are equally important for all the nations, especially for the developing countries and the emerging countries. Now, for this one, you cannot overstress the importance of the carbon neutrality, or you cannot overstress the importance of the GDP economy. Of course, people living, food, hospitals are very important. And also you cannot overstress the importance of the energy transition. Ignore the economy, ignore the climate change issues. So I think these three issues should be balanced. Different countries have different situations. Some countries like China, they have more coals. So it's schedule and also has its roots. It's different, the combination of these energies with the different energy structures. So China maybe has the characteristics, and India maybe has the characteristics. Japan has a characteristics. Korea has different features. So I think this depends on the nation issue. So my second point of view, I'd like to share with our team. I feel that these are three issues with the different nation will have a different structure. So this is the second the point I'd like to share with you. My third one, and I feel that another two issues. One is the time schedule. Another issue is about the roots, and combined with the three key issues. So these are 5 points we should put into a balanced sheet. Yeah. So time, roots, methodology, and also for the energy supply security, for the climate change, and also for the GDP economy development. So by these 5 points, or 5 key issues we should balance together. So maybe some of you share my comments, and maybe you can have some discussions in your book and for your chapters. So I wish this book is successful. I wish this book become a real handbook for all of our colleagues, friends, and researchers and professors. And also it become one of the bestseller book in 2021 or 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor San, for the interesting keynote speech. And we are glad that you found this handbook interesting and promising. So definitely throughout the editing process, we will use your valuable advices in order to have a higher quality handbook to be useful for the global society. Thank you very much. So before we start the first session, let's have a group photo. So please turn on your camera and so preparing. Dr. Jaber Fallah, Van Visa, Dr. Rashid, Mr. Deepak, please join us in this group photo. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's start the first station. The first station is on the geopolitics of energy markets and energy trade policy. The session will be chaired by Professor Dayong Zhang of Southwestern University of Finance and Economics. So Dayong and I will edit this handbook together. So Dayong, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for everybody involving, contributing to this handbook. It's also very pleasant to hear from the Professor Sun's very encouraging comments, and we hope that we can bring forward a good collection of chapters. So this session, we have the first session is geopolitics of energy market and energy trade policies. It's obviously a very important issue, so we expect to see a lot of discussions and some of the arguments recently towards the energy problems in the world, like the high price related to the issue of OPEC plus, or this kind of conflicts among the member countries of oil producers. And obviously that's a very important supply issue, and the geopolitical risk has been considered a very important driving factor for the global market. And I hope that these 4 chapters we've proposed, and that will generate a very interesting discussion here. So without any further ado here, I want to start from the first presentation that is harness win-win energy politics and the competitive global energy market by integrating energy efficiency, presented by Dr. Riyad Noor. So you have 10 minutes. So please do share your screen with us.
First of all, thank you so much, Dr. Farhad and Dr. Zhang, for having us in this platform and accepting our abstract to write on this for this brilliant book that is going to be published. So to introduce ourselves, my name is Riyad Noor, and I am a development sector practitioner and currently working with as an external consultant with National University of Singapore and at the same time Asian Development Bank of Bangladesh. So this paper is also co-authored by my sister and colleague, Ms. Sumayanu. So currently she is outside of the her station because she is going for a call, government call, in fact, the COVID vaccine second dose. So she had to attend and she couldn't be here today. However, she is from United Purpose Bangladesh. So she is trying to bring on the development sector perspective into this paper, how SDGs and different national and regional goals are being or going to be affected by the global geopolitical scenario of energy practice and policies. So without further ado, let us go to our presentation. So the research background in terms of, I had to bring this on because I found that, for example, we already know that we are living in a very energy-starved country, and we are having different dynamics of world issues such as climate change issues, rapid industrialization, then globalization, then population boom, then fourth industrial revolution. So these are becoming much more complex in the context of global energy geopolitics. And as energy is very much limited, we have to have some sort of secondary energy sources. So in terms of secondary energy sources, I find that renewable energy and clean energy, those are already in place. However, those are not being sufficient at the height of this time or with the rise of these issues, especially, for example, this COVID-19 situation. And one of the focus areas that we are going to discuss in our paper is energy efficiency, definitely. And we felt that energy efficiency is already in place. However, it is being practiced more into the developed countries, or especially for the technology applications only. And on top of that, I feel that this is still in its infancy. So we have to do more. And it is not being integrated into the regional energy or electricity trading market that we feel, especially in Indian subcontinent. I'm from Bangladesh. So I believe that this can benefit if we integrate the whole thing by improving regional cooperation and minimizing different conflicts in energy geopolitics. So given our this backdrop, our research gap, we have identified the research gap that we generally attempt to address the conflicts of energy geopolitics by, say, calculating the energy security or energy dilemma indexes, say, affordability issues, availability issues of these energy resources. But my point is that we can, say, bypass this whole notion of affordability or by integrating the energy efficiency in the whole summation or equation. And our philosophy would be to follow the waste not, want not principle, where we can have, if, for example, we can have less energy consumption to complete the same activity, say hypothetically, we will not have to worry about its price or even the availability. So that is our gap here that we want to address. Furthermore, the second gap we have identified is complementary to the first one, that is, even the biggest component of energy transformation is energy efficiency, and we mostly do not incorporate those issues in the discussion of energy geopolitics. However, we discuss issues like how we can have more energy resources, how we can bring on the alternative sources, how we can go for cross-border electricity trading, but energy efficiency and its discussion is not being incorporated or discussed in the platform. So that is our second gap. And finally, the interconnection between different energy market, electricity trading market, and energy digitization, which is the basis of energy efficiency in many energy trading platforms such as Nord Pool. So those are often more critical, which can be addressed by if we consider these issues of energy efficiency, again, which can streamline the whole energy geopolitics in many areas. Based on our background and gap identification, our research question would be how, say, this improvement in institutional and integration mechanisms of energy efficiency, say that the national or regional platforms can be used to achieve synergy in energy geopolitics through additional access in global energy market. And based on our research question, our broad research objective would be to connect the dots between energy transformation, energy efficiency, and energy geopolitics. The more specific objectives would be to provide guideline and recommendation for improving institutional and integration mechanisms of energy efficiency that can be used for the global energy market. And we also like to identify and offer the policy solutions for avoiding conflict in energy geopolitics by combining these adaptive market tools, instruments, mechanisms, and different resilient energy efficient technologies. Finally, our objective would also be to discuss the possible maximization of the interconnection between this energy trading market, energy digitization, by addressing the energy efficiency with different parameters and mechanisms from different countries and best practice areas. Our study approach would be to have three phases. For example, the first one we would like to derive different information data set on energy usage in energy efficient applications in different countries. Especially the conflict countries, those can have much more impact on resolving the energy geopolitics. So we would like to have best practices from those specific countries. And then the energy digitization will define energy trading markets. And we'd like to have or derive data set or example from, especially from Nord Pool, because that has been a very success case so far. A second phase would be to assess the different geopolitical context in different regional, national, or the different regional blocks, such as trans-regional initiatives. So these are just some examples that we are currently working on. For example, Iran-Pakistan India gas pipeline, then Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan India gas pipeline, Myanmar, Bangladesh India gas pipeline. Even we want to explore different modules beyond the Caspian Sea, such as the different gas pipelines between Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Turkey. We'd also like to, if possible, but that depends on the information availability, to have different gas pipelines and different geopolitical issues that were present during the Second World War between Western European countries and Russia. Finally, based on our the previous two phases, we'd like to prepare a trilemma index. This is not the same as energy trilemma index. However, we believe that this is kind of a converging point where we are having the data set and the assessment of geopolitical energy cooperation and having a single index that can give us the right approach to assess the geopolitical context or its relevant resolving issues that can be addressed. So based on that, we'd like to prepare a trilemma index. Would like to keep it as qualitative and quantitative at the same time. So that would be focusing definitely on the energy trading market, energy efficiency parameters, and the geopolitical issues that we want to incorporate in this trilemma index. Our methodology would be to basically definitely the first part, that is, if I go back, the data set and assessment of geopolitical energy geopolitics. So this would be observational research and qualitative in the first phase. For example, the data, relevant cases, inferences, references will be derived from existing studies, secondary sources, and so on. So we would like to have more information regarding working more white papers, reports, different handbooks such as that we are going to devise. So those will be collected from different national regional roadmaps, country policy papers, or different regional papers from IA or different energy policy, and energy trading policy. Regarding methodology, we would like to follow the review of secondary literature and secondary different documents, tertiary documents, different ethnographic research if required, and definitely different qualitative analysis. Furthermore, based on these findings, the Tillman Index will definitely have to have further comparison.
You have 1 minute, please.
Okay, then thank you. So further comparison analysis will be derived from this Tillman Index for our research method. And finally, our expected policy implication would be to have different policymakers and decision makers to have a fresh outlook of global energy mechanisms by considering the say unaddressed benefits of energy efficient trading markets, which is now our main concern and objective of this research paper. We'll also have different possible, better and more synergistic ways of cross-border electricity trading through these remodeled energy markets, which can have more assured, more say regional integration and find the root causes of avoiding the geopolitical context of conflict. And finally, from the policy aspect, we'd like to propose a mutually assured benefits rather than mutually assured destruction. So we can say avoid such nuclear power play or regional geopolitical tension between these countries. So if we streamline these issues through our policy recommendation or this paper, we can hope to have these benefits in terms of policy implication. So thank you. I mean, that's all for me, and we'll open for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Noor. So we'll have the questions and discussions in the end of the whole session. So we carry on doing the second presentation. Be careful about timing. So I will give you a warning of 1 minute before the end of 10 minutes, because we have 12 presenters today. So we better keep time, all right? The second presentation is going to be delivered by Francesco Sassi from University of Pisa, Italy, talking about geopolitics of European Union Russian gas trade. Please, Dr. Sassi.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. Can you see that?
Yes. Perfect. So I will give you a warning 1 minute before the end, all right?
Sure. So hello to everyone. First of all, thanks to the editors of this handbook for inviting me to write a chapter for this new important, very important book during a very special moment for the world energy systems. Thanks also to the Tokai University, the Southwestern University of Finance and Economics, the International Society for Energy Transition Studies, and the Spring and Nature for organizing this event and supporting this handbook publication. My name is Francesco Sassi, and I've just received my PhD from University of Pisa, Italy, in political science and geopolitics. My main research interests are on the nexus between energy strategy and energy security, international affairs and international relations theory. In particular, my studies are focused on energy security in Russia and China, and the use of natural gas as a political, diplomatic, and power tool in international relations. Today, I will present the general idea for my chapter on the geopolitics of the energy union and Russia gas trade. As a general idea and the background, I would say that gas geopolitics is largely based on the scientific literature created on EU-Russia gas trade from all fields of political and social science. As an example, if we look at the study of the international relations field, we can see that this topic is observed by all main theoretical schools in realist and liberal accounts. When dealt with the economic or institutional theories, EU-Russia gas geopolitics is mostly seen as a story of two models drifting apart and complicating political and economic relations between European capitals and Moscow, and at the same time between Brussels and major European capitals. At the same time, there are two major events coming up in the biennium of 2020 and 2021, and the global energy crisis. I mean, COVID-19 pandemic, and right now there are many widespread energy shortages all around the world. And the geopolitics of natural gas is again a central topic in the world, in the international debate. And as worldwide gas prices soar, the inventories shrink, and the consumption season has just started. Moreover, there are cold snaps already both in Northeast Asia, and temperatures have dropped in both China and Japan, increasing the possibilities of below than average winter temperatures and sparking fears of possible energy shortages and widespread blackouts from Europe to Asia. As a general concept, I would say that I will start with stating that both energy and geopolitics are notoriously slippery terms. Energy is closely linked to the historical history of physics, but it has since become a popular concept in many other sciences as well, including the social sciences. In the social and geopolitical context, energy sources do not exist in any objective sense. They become energy through various social, political, and economic activities. And in most generic sense, geopolitics is about the interaction between geographical factors, politics, and international relations. The term may be felt to be value-laden, and historically, it has commonly been associated with the realist school of international relations theory. Mostly, the theory translates the geographical location of energy sources within the state boundaries as an instrument for political leverage. There is a messy complexity in the terms of energy geopolitics, and main economic terms and main economic activity, which I will focus on, is trade. Trade stands at the center of the energy activities, especially fossil fuels. Natural gas, both in gaseous and liquid form, is an essentially traded good and has nothing to do with the physical accounts of energy source per se. The importance of energy sources being traded as commodities is evident in both market economies and in non-market economies. Trade is understood in realist terms as merely based on neo-realist theory of international relations, which emphasizes the centrality of states and their power politics. So therefore, energy trade is seen as a strategic commodity rather than an average good. And because its supplies can challenge the political and economic stability of a country, any external dependency is seen as a negative feature requiring state interference. At the same time, producers look to manage the exploration, production, and transportation of energy resources independently and through various political deals while portraying themselves as guarantors of energy security. And on the other hand, the diversification of export markets and suppliers is an important way of managing uncertainties. On the other hand, trading in liberal terms and the liberal approach to energy policies is rooted in the neoliberal studies of international relations. And this approach sees interdependence in a positive way and relies on markets to resolve transnational supply and demand issues. Energy is viewed as a commodity like any other, and whereas market is present, is the best way to foster win-win games in global energy and between partners. So at the same time, this approach favors transnational relations rather than strictly territorial organization, as well as bottom-up solutions to the delegation of responsibilities to business and experts. Companies are expected to adopt optimal solutions for consumers and producers and to transport the demanded amount of energy in the most cost-efficient way. The research plan and structure of the chapter would be the following ones. So an introduction of the energy geopolitics scene and gas geopolitics scene from a more theoretical point of view, a paragraph on energy geopolitics and the current energy crisis. So during the pandemic and during 2021, during the main shortages, which are actually seeing right now. I will have a paragraph based on the trading political terms. So as I said right now, from the realist and the liberal point of view and the polarizations between these two fields. On the fourth part of the paragraph, I would focus on the geopolitics of the European Union and Russia gas trade, and focus on five main EU-Russia gas trade projects and geopolitical issues. So Ukraine transit the Nord Stream 2 as a project, the transit through Belarus and Poland, Turkish Stream, and EU transition to renewable energy resources. And I will use mostly secondary literature for this part of the chapter. And then I will have a short discussion and conclusion, which have also policy implications. I will focus on the polarization of the fields and the impossibility to communicate on a pair basis between realism and liberalism when we talk about EU-Russia gas trade. There's no debate, but a muscle stretching theoretical exercise mostly. There is no possibility of predictions. There are no generalization and no ontological comprehension of the deeper components of the EU-Russia relations. So a better understanding and theorization of what is trading gas and energy in general, but I will focus on gas geopolitics, is very much needed. I will focus on main questions we should ask ourselves with the aim for better understanding of what is trading gas geopolitics. So who wants to trade gas? How is gas trade structured, and who decides how gas structure is, how gas trade structure is done, and how partners relate to each other? So thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sasi. It's very good time control. So I think it's a very interesting chapter. So, but I'll leave all the questions after everything. So let's move to the third presentation, the role of energy trade in South Asian energy security, Bhutan's case of electricity trade in the region, by Dr. Bhattarai from Royal University of Bhutan. Room's yours, please. Dr. Bhattarai, you are muting now, so please switch on your microphone.
Yes, Dr. Dayong, am I audible?
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
Start
Thank
now.
you, Dr. Dayong.
Yeah, you have 10 minutes, please. Right.
Thank you so much. And then quickly, I'll try to highlight on the pointer actually that is guiding me to work on the chapter for this excellent book on Handbook on Energy Policy, where my chapter is mostly to focus on the role of energy trade in South Asian energy sectors, basically to focus on the case of electricity trade in the region of the area from Bhutan. So I tried to work on the 4 critical pointers for this chapter. First pointer is the brief outlook of energy trade. The second pointer is a little bit of highlight in context of global as well as Bhutan context in terms of energy. Then trying to talk about the energy trade, and then finally trying to end with security and sustainability aspects of energy trade. So like in brief outlook, what I am actually working is basically on understanding the energy trade from global prospects, and from global prospects narrow down to the energy trade in the South Asian countries, basically addressing the issues related to supply and demand of energy and its trade that is happening in the region. So these are the domain of guidance that will allow me to focus more on supply, demand, and then what are the issues that are being faced. Then going a little lower to my topic, then it is more to highlight briefly about Bhutan, why Bhutan happens to be favorable in terms of energy situations, trying to talk from the potential of energy sources and its capability for energy trade. More to talk on the greater potential of renewable hydropower plant in Bhutan, and also in terms of energy trade and then supply balance systems, try to talk from other renewable energy sources that are making the penetrations in case of Bhutan in contributions to the grid power, and then also becoming favorable factors for energy trade. Then the third domain, which will be much crucial portions of the chapter, is to talk about the energy trade, where the focuses are on the overall opportunities for energy trade, the challenges and the actions that are there from the domain of energy trade, where global prospects will be reflected a bit. Then it will be narrowed down to the cases of Asian country, specifically South Asian country, and then mostly to focus in greater depth about Bhutan cases, where energy trade relationship with respect to social fund, how it is making an impact to the society or social aspects, that aspects will be covered. The other one is ecological and environmental fund, how this energy trade in context of Bhutan is relating to ecological and environmental fund, whether it is in line with the environmental policies and in favorable domain or vice versa. Then coming to the economical and development fund, the role of energy trade in its contributions to economy as well as development aspects, which are the visible example from the secondary sources in case of Bhutan and also in the regions. So this will be the aspects that will be looked upon, and more so like looking the policies, regulations, and the mandate related to energy trade in case of Bhutan. So critical analysis of different policies, regulations, and mandate will be discussed, and also how these policies, regulations, and mandates, along with the constitutions of a country and the very noble philosophy of gross national happiness, which we practice in Bhutan, contributes its approach and actions in renewable energy domain. So this will be the aspects that will be covered under this critical content of chapter. Then finally, towards the end, the aspects will be more on security and the sustainability when you are venturing into energy trade, how it is related to energy security of the region or energy security of the host supplying countries like Bhutan in terms of its energy balance. Then also its contributions to power grid enhancement in the region, and can we able to meet the sustainability of power trade and the power demand through renewable energy sources through cross-border energy trade. So this will be the aspects that will be covered in context of Bhutan as well as in the region. So ultimately, in terms of policy directions, it will try to validate, or in terms of realize or analyze what are those policies that are there in relations to all this energy and energy trade in case of Bhutan, also little bit in case of the region, how that policies has the implications on the overall aspects of energy trade, and probably the pointer on the desired directions on which we can think of if you really want to have the effectiveness of energy trade and then the overall energy securities in the region. So with this, my chapter is planned to conclude in such a way. So these are the overall pointers which I will be covering on this chapter. So thank you, and then back to you, Dr. Dayong.
Very much, Dr. Bhattacharya. It's very good talk. We move to this fourth one, towards sustainable development through energy transnationalism, case study of integrated energy marketing in Asia by Dr. Zhang from Institute for Global International Relationships, Japan. Now it's yours. Please unmute your mic.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, just a moment.
You can start now. Thank you.
A very good afternoon to all of you. It is my name is Akanksha Singh. It is my immense pleasure and honor to be here today, and I thank Professor Farhad-Hesary and Professor Dayong Zhang to provide me this opportunity to contribute my research. And in the Handbook of Energy Policy, the title of my chapter is Towards a Sustainable Development Through Energy Transnationalism, Study of Integrated Energy Markets in Asia. Now let me begin with the presentation. Yeah. So these would be the contents: background, chapter structure, expected policy implications. Introduction. So in the background, I would explain about the importance of energy. Energy touches almost all facets of life and strongly influence economic, social, and political development of any state by ensuring socio-economic development and well-being of people. Today, when we talk about our sustainable future and fulfillment of the sustainable development goals, it is energy which has direct or indirect impact on each one of the SDGs. It also has potential to catalyze either conflict or cooperation. Then why not use it towards the cooperation? In the 19th century, French philosopher Claude Henry de Saint-Simon pointed to the transnational infrastructure as important means for creating the interdependence between the countries. So taking inspiration from the modern Saint-Simonian imperative that energy, natural resources, and infrastructure can be mobilized for a peaceful world order. This chapter aims to apply a transnational energy approach, that how the integrated energy market can boost the economy, enhance regional cooperation, and can be a step to reduce the carbon emission, thus harnessing the role of energy as a soft foreign policy tool. So the chapter structure, the highlighted in the bold would be the tentative subsections of the chapter. So I would provide a little background about each subsection. I would introduce, providing the introduction, the concept and definition of the energy security. The second section, energy as a geopolitical and the diplomatic tool. Most developed nations of the modern world are energy dependent, not only for their prosperity, but also for their survival. This dependency of energy has great influence in their foreign policy priorities. The geopolitics of energy arises due to the fact that majority of energy consumers are not its major producers, but its net importers. Energy geopolitics is not only about energy present on the planet Earth in the form of the hydrocarbon reserves. It is about the movement of energy. It is about the pipelines. It is about the transmission lines. It is about the construction of the transnational grids. And it is also about the various forms of energy, how it is produced, refined, transferred, stored, and consumed. And it differs for all the actors involved during the process. Thus, geopolitics of energy plays an important role in formulating the diplomatic relation between various states, as it keeps checks and balances on the state from becoming authoritative. Further, in this regard, it allows smaller states strategically located with energy potential to bargain in favor of their national interest. Thus, in this direction, a theoretical understanding of the geopolitics of energy would be discussed in this section. And this section would analyze the energy transnationalism, such as the cross-border energy trade. Here, this chapter would emphasizes that it is energy interdependence, not energy independence, which is a key to the energy security of any state. The third subsection, success story from the European integration, placing energy at the center of the cooperation. This section would discuss about the from the European case, firstly, Franco-German reconciliation and the formation of the European coal and steel community in the historical framework, that how two former rivals, the main antagonist power of the World War, they came together, and what was the milestone role played by the energy to bring them for the common cause. Later on, this section will discuss about the European electricity transnationalism, when pan-European visionaries identified electricity system as tool for strengthening European competitiveness, boosting trans-boundary solidarity, and securing the peace. Coming towards the Asian energy demand scenario, it is predicted that there will be a power shift in the 21st century, and 21st century would be an Asian century. McKinsey Global Institute predicted that by 2040, Asia will account 50% of the world's total GDP and 40% of world's energy consumption. This growth in energy consumption in rapidly developing energy market of the Indo-Pacific region would change the geopolitical dimensions of the region and intensify competition of energy. Thus, to ensure the security of the available resources, it becomes imperative for the Asian economies to realize the importance of regional cooperation to sustain their economic growth. Therefore, in this direction, in the next section, it would focus on the sub-regions of Southeast Asia and South Asia to study the transnational energy approach, about the progress and prospects and the implications of the transnational infrastructure in the region. Thus, the next section would conduct a comparative analysis of the institutional framework and the development dynamics. So it would study the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation and SAARC Framework Agreement for the Energy Cooperation, and what lessons can be learned from the success of the other. So ASEAN has emerged as a most successful economically integrated region of Asia, and according to the ASEAN Secretariat report, it is the most preferred investment destination and would be the fourth largest economy by 2030. Consequently, it is a lesson for other sub-regions in Asia that how transnational cooperation can be leveraged to facilitate connectivity and the economic growth. Thus, taking inspiration from the successful stories, comparing the institutional framework and development dynamics of both the regions, the next section chapter would study and analyze the progress of the energy connectivity initiatives in both the region, such as the ASEAN Power Grid, Trans-ASEAN Gas Pipeline, SAARC Energy Rings, keeping India in central for last 10 years. In the last section, coming to the South Asia, in the last section, after the comparative study of both region and the wide literature review, a SWOT analysis would be conducted to evaluate the strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threat towards the integrated energy network in Asia. So in the SWOT framework, strength and weaknesses are considered as an internal factor which can help a region to understand that which of its resources and capabilities are likely to be source of competitive advantage and which can act as a barrier on the path of the growth. However, opportunities and threats shed light on the external environment factors which a region or state may attract from other state or the region. Through this methodology, this chapter would develop a model that influences the bilateral and the multilateral decision making towards the effective energy cooperation in South Asia. The expected policy implication. This chapter aims to foster regional cooperation, placing energy security at the center of the cooperation. This study looks forward towards the expansion of the multilateral synergies available from collaboration. SWOT framework would provide a positive and negative aspect and the internal environment and model for effective energy cooperation. And lastly, This study would contribute to be the holistic qualitative perspective for the energy transnationalism and contribute to the existing literature with a wholesome perspective. So this is it. These are some of the references I have added, and thank you for your kind attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Singh. So I think we are right on time. So we have 10 minutes for discussions and questions. So I will open the floor to everybody now. So you can.
Okay, thank you very much, Dayong, for chairing this session, and thanks to all presenters, very interesting presentations. So I have one general comments to all contributors regarding this handbook. You see, the journal papers are very specific on one topic, on one specific topic. And the readers of journal papers usually have background information, background knowledge about that topic. But the readers of book are more general, and readers of handbook are even more general than monograph. So it's like encyclopedia. So it means we should consider that the readers of the handbook, they don't have information about that specific topic. And so the chapter needs to be very informative and not specific on one, for example, case study. For example, when a chapter is on fossil fuel policy, when a chapter is on renewable energy policy, the reader wants to learn about that specific topic. So it means we need to differentiate between the contributions to the handbook and journal papers or the normal monograph. So this is one issue. And so regarding the chapter by Dr. Hemlal, it is interesting. Just I have some comments. So the comment is that I suggest that you focus more on South Asia as a whole, because when we are looking at different Asian sub-regions, there are lots of studies, for example, on East Asia or on Southeast Asia. But South Asia, not many studies are on this region. So I suggest that please don't limit your study to only Bhutan, but cover the whole South Asia. So it means Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Maldives. And also in your chapter, because your chapter is talking about the energy trade, so it means the readers can learn that generally what are the barriers for energy trade. For example, electricity tariff or non-tariff measures, rules, regulations, technical issues which is existing in the electricity between the borders, and also infrastructure, which is very important. Grid development is also another barrier. And so these are the comments that please do this. And another comment to all esteemed contributors, that although this is going to be a handbook and very general, but we need to follow the academic and scholarly style of writing. So it means starting by abstract, introduction, research questions, objective, novelty of this study, contribution to the literature. And usually in handbooks chapters, literature review need to be very strong, because we are more focusing on review of the literature rather than doing a study by ourselves. And finally, conclusion and policy recommendations. So these are my comments.
Okay, thank you, Farhad. I think I'm just following your general comments. I think it's really what I also want to tell to the authors. I think this is a handbook of energy policy, so we would expect to discuss more policy issues. So when I'm talking about discussion on policy issues, not only policy implications of your current specific studies, we hope to say, for example, I like, say, for example, Dr. Sashi's topic on European Union Russian gas trade. And this is a very interesting topic, and it's also a very complicated issue. So I think the current energy price rise, like gas price rise, has a very strong elements of this EU-Russian conflict there. Well, the question here is maybe there are a lot of policy and political connections, and there is also a history behind that. So if it could possibly like providing a timelines of this conflicts, like what is the historical issues, or the kind of how does this situation evolved over time, that will give authors a great interest. I would personally be interested to look at this history and how the EU-Russian issue has been developed to the current state, and what kind of different things happened in different times. And also, I think the general discussions, like other chapters, you probably want to look at existing policies. For example, like Dr. Singh, that you're talking about Southeast Asia or ASEAN. So energy market integration has been a long discussion, a big topic, has been under long discussions. So there are policies, or there were a lot of policies existing that trying to push towards one direction or multiple directions. And you could possibly, if you could possibly commenting on those policies, existing policies, and then just trying to connecting your research with the existing policies and bring some general comments, that would be great. So as other things, I think it's probably the same for what Farhad has said. We would expect to see a very informative and just telling people more background and giving the readers with no strong background on energy policy or in a particular area. So, for example, people may know more about one particular region, but not all. So, if you could just pay a bit more attention or give a bit more weight on that aspect, it will be nicer. So, this is my general comments for the Farhad's. Yeah, any other comments would be welcome. So we have still 4 minutes.
Sir, I have a question, a follow-up question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so from Dr. Zhang and Dr. Farhad, sir, if I got it correctly, I mean, we will need to keep it less technical, so that for the sake of audience. So, for example, I was in a paper, I was trying to develop an index that I just shared with my presentation. So I think that would be too technical for the audience from your discussion. So should I avoid that and just keep it plain in terms of other aspect that I shared?
Yes, thank you very much. Good question. So I think you mentioned, if I understood well, you plan to develop an index, yeah? So it's better to avoid it. So yeah, because that is suitable for example, journals. But for this, we need to avoid one specific own research. We need to review more the researches that have been done by others in that field. And we are more gathering the idea, opinion, and reviewing what have been done earlier, because it's more general. And if we want to focus only on index, so it means your chapter will be more around that index. So it means it will lose that nature of being a chapter of a handbook. So this is my comment.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Is there any other comment, question? Okay. So, if Dayong, do you want to add something?
I think I'm okay. Just maybe just one short add up to your comments on Dr. Noor's question. If you have an index, if you developed an index somewhere, and you can, put that one as an additional element in your chapter, but don't make too much of the technical stuff, because if you just develop the index as the main purpose of your chapter, then it will involve too much technical stuff, which is kind of diverting readers' attention, and people may not be familiar with that. So the concentration, you might present the index somehow in your chapter or mention the main idea over there, but the key thing is trying to connect to your main idea, like how these energy geopolitics linking with global energy market trade or energy efficiency or the major issues, and also related up to policy issues. I think that's the general idea. What is pretty much the same as what Farhad was talking. You can add the index, but not too much technical thing there.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I think we are right on time, and so I would like to thank you for all the contributors for your hard work, and I'm looking forward to see your work in a few months' time. And now I would like to conclude this session. Thank you very much for everybody, and we'll have 10 minutes break and coming back to the second session.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Dayong. So see you in 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Thank you.
So much. Thank you.
Sorry, Farhad, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Oh,
you.
okay, it's fine.
Thank you
Can
very
you
much.
hear me this time?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, that's good.
Perfect. Welcome back. Let's start the session 2, which is on policies to increase energy security and alleviate energy poverty. The session chair is Professor Zhang. Professor Zhang is a professor at Institute of Science and Development, Chinese Academy of Sciences. He is a senior editor at Finance Research Letters and associate editor at International Review of Financial Analysis and International Review of Economics and Finance. Professor Zhang, please. Zhang, I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but
Okay.
It's not visible. Would you please turn on your camera? Or if it is difficult, you can continue just by voice.
How about now?
No, still no. Yeah, it's clear now.
Okay.
So please start.
Okay, sorry. Maybe my computer don't like Zoom, so it's always have some program. Okay. Firstly, I want to say congratulations to Dayong and Farhad for to edit a new handbook of energy policy. And I think this topic is timely and become more important under the current situation. So as we know, the concept of energy security is a classic topic, but now it has some more situation. We know the world is changing, and we should face to more program in the energy transition. So as we know, after 2018, so the trade war and make the international collaboration become more difficult. And also we have more strict carbon emission task. So now the energy security have some new concept. So we should reinvestment this concept. And also we can see the recent European energy crisis has reminded us to revisit this topic. So at our session, we have 5 presentations. The first one is Li Jiajia from Sichuan Agricultural University. His presentation is about the conception and the framework of the energy poverty. So Jiajia, you have 10 minutes, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's clearly.
Hello everyone, I'm Jiajia Li. from Sichuan Agricultural University of China. And it's my great pleasure to be invited by Professor Ji, Professor Dayong, and Farhad. And this section talks about the policies to elevate energy poverty. So I want from the perspective of the fundamental conceptions to the practical framework in the new era, because a lot of issue happens nowadays, and it makes this should have some changes, even in energy poverty and the policies to elevate it. I will focus on 6 aspects. For example, begins with overviews, and most importantly, I will focus on policy implications and the discussions to go further to think about how to write this section well. Firstly, I have the overviews, okay? So if I use a Wheeler and have the keywords of reducing energy poverty and policy, you can find there's more than 300 papers in the Web of Science. So there are many 3 clusters when it talks about energy poverty and policy. One cluster with the red, that is a household. Okay, you can see it here. And another part is about poverty and the development. So this is a very important issue mentioned about in the energy poverty policies. And there is third one, the third cluster is about the, for example, the very important case of China and the rural areas, and those cases which are with the serious issue of energy poverty. If we see the trend by the Wheeler, you can find out the most popular cases recently about the effect and the energy poverty itself, and China, and the sustainability, so on and so forth. But when we get back to the energy policy with the darker point, which suggests it is not so popular in the recent 2 or 3 years, but back to 5 years, it was important. So we'll see what's issues here. How can we tackle with energy poverty? So when we get back to the background, we can find out the definition of energy poverty and how the energy poverty development in the literature. Energy poverty is very important, of course, because it refers every energy-related aspect of poverty, such as inability to keep a household adequately warm. So the definitions get back to like 30 years ago. And it is a global challenge nowadays because according to the United Nations goal, there's a SDG 7 mentions about the affordable and clean energy should be acceptable access to all the human beings in the year of 2030. So it's a global challenge. And energy poverty is widely proved. It has diverse impacts on the education and on the human's well-being. For example, health and education, environment and development. But there's a challenge of energy poverty in the literature to make it very important. There's no universally applicable definition till now, but its multifaceted notion is well known by the current research. Then we have a global view to say, okay, some facts, what we found about the energy poverty. There are, for example, there's a more than 1 billion population did not access to electricity, and 1/3 of the rural population all over the world do not access to the electricity. And even by forecasting in the year 2030, there's more than 600 million people will remain without electricity. You can find out from the IEA, those issues mentioned about energy poverty is a serious problem, particularly in developing and the rural regions. But importantly, the progress towards energy poverty elevation has been remarkably slow. So that's why this chapter mentions about how can we have some policy designs to decline the energy poverty is important but challenging as well. Then the motivations for this chapter. So there are two aspects. One aspect, there is something new issue happen. For example, the well-known COVID-19. There are more and more people get back to energy poverty and increased by 2% in the year 2012 and 21, according to the IEA. So, and secondly, because the global strategies of the carbon neutrality you can find out that energy poverty is an issue to tackling with, because the household or the country with a problem of energy poverty mostly goes hand in hand with their CO2 emissions. So when we talk about the carbon neutrality, we have to get back to the issue of energy poverty as well. So based on the previous evidences, we can find out, although there are some difficulties or complexities in bridging the theoretical notation with the political practice, this section aims to tackle on policy implications with a broader extent. So that's the objectives. Mainly I want to have 4 objectives for this section. And the first is the review academic debates of the main conceptions, measurements of energy poverty, the drivers of it, and the impacts of it. Focus on the debates as well and the basic conceptions to make this section informative. And the second part is I will, with a lot of plots, talks about the dynamic distribution, and also some particular part, for example, the Africa, the Asia countries, and what's the energy poverty is happening and what's the dynamic changes of it with plots issues. And the third is to keep in mind that there are some situations happening nowadays, for example, the epidemics, the advanced technologies, the digitalized society, and the rapid globalization. Those issues could have chances to make the policies changes, make the issues have different directions, okay? And even make energy poverty happens, for example, under the circumstances of the epidemics. But how can we make energy poverty less serious by digitalized society, so on and so forth? Those issues should be taken into consideration. And based on those facts and thoughts, I want to have established the framework which can be put in practice for policy implications. And it is not just listing the issues, but make a frameworks, make a strategies. And that is also what I want to think today and discuss with you. And how can we make this section possible? Okay. So based on the existing investments, I just have a briefly framework here. So the purpose of these policies, I think it should be multiple approaches and tailor policies to reduce energy poverty. For example, from the geography issue, we can have some global view, and we can also have different views based on the developed and developing countries. So they can have different policy implications. And also from regional view, for example, including rural and urban perspectives. So that is one aspect. The second aspect, we can talk about the different policy implications towards the decision-making units. For example, we can have some implications obtained from the governments, the companies, particularly the international companies and local companies as well, and from the communities where the residents live in, also from the households, because if you remember correctly, way back to the Views figure, you can find out that households policy implications are the main focus nowadays. So there is some micro perspectives, for example, living environments and habits, so on and so forth. Third, we can focus on time periods. We have short-term solutions till the United Nations 2030 and long-term tasks to be carbon neutrality. So this is also the third perspective. And the fourth, I invested from the existing literature or some outlooks. That is a particular perspective. The most important one is economics, of course, but economics cannot do everything. So I also focus on other aspects. You can see from the slide, for example, the legislative, social and cultural perspective, which is very popular nowadays, and the climatic and technological perspectives. Those should be also involved in the particular perspectives. And anything else, I think it can be added further. So the last slide is the outlook of the writing. I think the framework of the is of the alleviation of energy poverty is very important instead of just simply listing the policy implications. And the second, I would like to propose a system and to have a strategy, something like have a collaborations, whether those kind of collaboration can be created among different groups, for example, between developing regions and developed regions. These kind of collaborations, whether it's possible to make energy poverty less serious, okay? And the third is focus on particular cases, such as they are big developing countries in the world, China and India, and offer policy designs based on their local specifics. For example, for China, we had some empirical researches about that, the important spillover effect, the environmental spillover effect of women. So focus on the local specifics for different countries as well. And last, and eventually we can strengthen the unity within the international organizations. For example, the BRICS countries, the United Nations, and I think this is also part of energy poverty alleviation framework. So that's my presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Jia. Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you. Interesting topic. So all the question, we will have all the question after the 5 talks finish. Okay, the second one. Second one is from Reza. He discussed some case of the energy security in Iran. Okay, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I will share the screen. It's shared, yes?
Okay, 10 minutes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's an honor to have the opportunity to address such audiences. As you can see on the screen, I will contribute to an energy security chapter entitled Security in a Resource-Rich Economy, Case of Iran. During the next 10 minutes, I will, I think I have a problem. Fix it. During the next minutes, I will present all questions that will be answered in this chapter. First of all, let me start saying some words about my background. I got my master and PhD in technology foresight and future studies. Research interest are strategic foresight, scenarios, technology, policy, and spatial energy policy and decision science. Energy security is a polydimensional concept. First of all, let's see some major dimensions that are now known as the main concepts of the energy security. The supply, domestic needs, energy security should be affordable, should address energy poverty, ensure economic growth, and it's evolving. And the question is that the focal question in this is that do exporters face different energy security criteria, challenges compared to importers? I think the answer is obvious, and it's yes, but how? Here, I can share some ideas about this chapter. The polydimensional of energy security as a concept comes from the dynamic emergent inherent nature that makes energy security evolving over times. It's encapsulated social, economic, geopolitical, and in some cases military. During the energy transition era, we will face new challenges and new concepts of energy security. The history said energy security indexes are built upon importers, mostly developed by Europeans. Now in Iran and such export countries, energy exporter countries, we are facing new challenges emerging challenge in energy security. The evolution of the energy security concept refers to changes in conditions, properties, technology development approaches, and even our understanding of the natural world growth. Moreover, policy perspectives extremely affects the energy security conceptualization. Most references energy security concept and improvement strategies are investigated regardless of countries' positions in the global energy market, nor their potential and challenges. Local challenges. Most nations are categorized under importer countries, and so the concept of energy security originally emerged referring to access to affordable energy, modern challenges, especially environmental and social concerns in those countries. These challenges all complicated plausible futures in the case of energy supply countries even more dramatically for the next I think mid to long-term futures. This chapter is aimed to study and discuss energy security from a resource-rich nation. For a case study, but as Dr. Farhad, I will analyze the concept from the resource-rich economies, but to propose some simplifications, I will focus on Iran and its challenges over the time. Understanding the difference between importers and exporters is critical, especially in the current situation, to address international concerns, poverty, inequality, climate change, and etc., which need commitment and cooperation all countries, but given their positions, challenges, and potentials. I have a short outline here. I will start with introduction, definition, conceptualization of the energy security, how it evolves over the time, and then multidimensional concept of energy security will be analyzed. Energy security from rich economies will be discussed here, and multiple challenges will be present. Then Iran's energy security challenges will be explained in a case. Iran is facing some shared challenges and some special challenges. For example, in Iran, we have not answered yet what is energy for. Energy as a good, or energy as the driver for the economy. And it makes some main challenges for national energy policy. Then policies to guarantee and improve Iran's energy security will be presented. Here you can see some main references. I designed an abstract based on them. I have an experience with my colleagues in the energy security and sustainable development that have been published. For example, in this case, in Springer. Thank you. Comments and recommendation are welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for saving time. Okay, you can close the sharing. We have the third one is a presentation about the energy poverty in the cooking sector. It's interesting, yeah, especially in India. So the presenter is Vijita.
Yes, sir.
Please, yeah. Okay, you can share.
Yes, sir. I think it's visible.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see it.
So good afternoon all. This is Vijeta Singh, and I'm going to co-present this paper with Dr. Nandita Mishra, who is co-author of my paper. Now, the focus of my paper is basically on clean cooking fuels. It is specifically talks about clean cooking fuels and what are the steps taken by the government of India in order to promote clean cooking fuels in India. So these are broadly agenda of my study. I think it's moving. Okay. Yeah. So what the literature is suggesting, that as per the National Sample Survey Organization 2017-18 report, a large part of Indian population is still dependent upon wood mass, that is the traditional like fossil fuels base, right? And they are primarily used by the rural area, right? Or the rural population of the country, while there is a stark difference when it comes to the urban areas. Urban areas are actually more towards LPGs or clean cooking fuels. So what we see in case of India is that there is a clear difference with respect to use of clean energy fuel across residential status. Now, looking at this problem, the government of India actually started many schemes which promoted clean cooking fuels in India, because as per the report of Niti Aayog, as well as per the earlier reports of Planning Commission, there are health hazards associated with use of dirty cooking fuels, right? So the government of India started a lot of schemes. So what they started is that they started to give free LPG connections to the below poverty line population of India. This scheme was started in 2017, and this scheme primarily aimed at below poverty line population. So now, what has been the case of India with respect to defining energy poverty? If we really look at the literature of the energy poverty, it differs across developing countries and developed countries. In developing countries, it is more about accessibility, and in developed countries, it is more about affordability. So there are many studies of Buzzer, Broadman, Elkair et al. And Thompson. They have talked about defining energy poverty, measuring energy poverty. And thereafter, the energy poverty literature also talks about what are the probable negative impacts of using dirty cooking fuels on health, on environment, or overall economic growth, right? So these are studies basically talking about the negative impacts of using dirty cooking fuel, right, on the economy and the environment and the population health. So we can see some India specific study also, there are some global studies also. So keeping all these factors in mind, the government of India actually started flagship schemes for promoting clean cooking fuels in India. So what has been the case? The case has been is that though India is slowly moving towards clean cooking fuels, but still we see some bottlenecks, some challenges, some barriers, right? So the overall aim of this particular chapter is to first to understand the adoption and growth of clean cooking fuels in India, because clearly we can see some regional patterns, which I'll show in my next slides, right? That the regions, the different geographical regions of India, they have very different pattern with respect to use of cooking fuels, right? So while there is no similarity, while there is no uniformity, that will study which states of India are actually moving forward, which states of India are actually lagging behind. Thereafter, we'll be talking about what has been the impact of clean cooking fuels on the economic development. So that will be basically an econometric modeling where we'll be talking about what are the determinants of economic development with respect to clean cooking fuels, where we'll be talking about some control variables like household dynamics, intra-household dynamics. We'll be talking about some economic factors. We'll be talking about macroeconomic factors. We'll be also talking about region-specific factors. And lastly, we'll be actually talking about the incentive mechanism, the support structure, which primarily aims at eradicating cooking fuel energy poverty in India. Because what has been observed in the case of India, because of sustained efforts, the accessibility problem is actually addressed, right? But the affordability problem is still there. For example, a rise in LPG prices. So even when you have got LPG connections, you may not be able to use it on sustained basis. So what the government of India is trying to address is both the problem, that is the accessibility part also, and the affordability part also. So accessibility part is basically providing the free LPG connections. But what about the affordability part? Can the government of India afford to provide them subsidies, whole lifetime? No, it's not, technically it's not possible, because it's drain on financial resources of the country also. So what to do? So those are the concepts that we are going to study under the incentive mechanism and support structure, and we'll be also studying the barriers there, right? So what are the problems with respect to incentive mechanism also? Because when we want to implement all those incentives and when we want to provide them support, even then we face some barriers and challenges. So we'll be studying those aspects also. So our data source will be primarily based from National Family Health Survey data. This is this round 5, and NSSO report, National Sample Survey report, which is for drinking water, sanitation, and hygiene. These are actually sample survey reports, and these are a very broad-based reports that talks about every dimension of Indian household, so right from economic to social to everything. Thereafter, with respect to incentive mechanism and subsidy structure, we are primarily depending upon one of the flagship scheme of Government of India, Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, which is providing free LPG connections. Thereafter, we'll be also taking help of Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas and Niti Aayog, and lastly, the International Energy Agency, especially with respect to access to clean cooking fuel data and the subsidy structure, if we have to compare it with the regions also. In terms of model analysis, this is very tentative one, but we have thought of using Moron-Sai for spatial correlation, spatial regression, and OLS model. So this is our proposed model, wherein we'll be basically talking about if a household actually goes for a clean cooking fuel choice, what are the determinants that affects? So there are some macroeconomic factors like inflation, like lending rate, access to credit. There are some location specific factors like if you are residing in rural area, urban area, then intra-household dynamics like what is the household size, the number of dependents, if the spouse is working or not, what is the average monthly income of a family, what is the monthly per capita expenditure, and thereafter we'll be also talking about cooking fuel specific dynamics. Say for example, the LPG prices. The LPG prices or the LPG subsidy given by the Government of India and alternative fuel prices as compared to LPG. So for example, what is the kerosene price? If the kerosene is cheaper, will the household actually go for this LPG or not? So this is proposed model with respect to this particular chapter. And we've also tried to actually compare different clean and non-clean cooking fuel on basis of certain parameters. So we'll see, we'll take the help of NSSO data and we'll compare that, how we can support this particular hypothesis with the help of the data. And thereafter we come to any kind of interpretation or analysis. So these are basically fuel-wise household cooking fuel parameters. Basically, it leads to overall fuel selection, cooking fuel selection. So what is the availability aspect, affordability aspect, how we can store it, if it's perishable or not, how much smoke it's producing.
Sorry, Verita, 1 minute. 1 minute left.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll just move to the last part, sir. So what we are actually expecting from this particular study is to understand the factors that basically contribute to reduction of energy poverty in India, especially with respect to clean cooking fuel choices, and what could be the probable impact of adoption of clean cooking fuel on economic growth, right? And what are the steps that the government can take, and what are some of the suggestive action a government can take? Because our model, we conducted this model with respect to what is the impact of this, say for example, LPG on net state domestic product. So it was positive. So it was very encouraging for us, and we would like to extend this particular study. Obviously with more variables and with more support of data. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Verita. The first one is Hassan from from the Tara University. His topic is energy convergence and regional energy security. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Do you hear me?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, actually, I would like to share my file. Yes. Well, is it visible? Yes. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Zhang. I'm assistant professor in economics at University of Tehran, Iran. First of all, I would like to thank the workshop organizers to invite me to have a presentation on my proposed chapter. As you can see here, my chapter title is Energy Convergence and Regional Energy Security Policy Implications. I'm going to talk about my chapter through this presentation plan. As it can be seen, firstly, I provide a brief introduction and background to clarify the nature and importance of the topic. Then I express the main research questions and aspects of contribution of chapter to the existing literature. Next, research plan and structure are discussed. And finally, I'm gonna express some expected policy implications. I start with the specifications of this concept of energy convergence. As you know, convergence is in energy economics can be defined as the unification or merging of players, policy, financing, and solutions. If you assume this simple definition, it's a clear fact that this issue is vital and necessary to ensure the regional energy security, because existence of energy convergence in energy markets can generate a higher level of regional cooperation, especially for developing energy projects and financing them. So studying different aspects of energy convergence would be practical and may bring some useful policies for countries, especially in the current challenge of coronavirus. You know that since the late of 2019, structural changes caused by the coronavirus pandemic in the global economy have challenged the issue of energy convergence pattern, which I called it ECP in regional aspect. An unsubstantiated claim to the highlight of this challenge has been the rise of various risks, such as social risk and changes in national energy security. Therefore, to find out the relationship between energy convergence and energy security, we need to consider other variables or influential factors such as social risk. In regards to the literature review, actually the literature gap is clear. The concepts of energy convergence and energy security have been separately drawn attention by scholars and academic and in-depth study focusing on exploring the interconnections between energy convergence and energy security. I provide some fresh studies or literature about the energy convergence and actually energy security in this and next slides. You can see some information about the author or author's topic and the year of publishing in the paper. Based on the literature gap and the concept of energy convergence, the chapter's contributions to the existing literature are the following. First, the chapter tries to map the energy convergence and energy security literature identifies would be so, I think, in my view, it would be so interesting and fruitful for general readers of this handbook, especially my chapter. Second, the chapter uses the Beck's theory of free society and the multidimensional security indicator proposed by Baldwin in 1997 to model energy convergence pattern. And third, the relationship between energy security and ECP are analyzed in 5 Asian regions to identify the similarities or differences in signs and magnitudes of impacts of different explanatory variables on dependent variable, which is ECP. And fourth, I will try to explore the impact of pandemic on the energy convergence pattern in these Asian regions. Based on the contributions, introduction, literature review, my main research question is how are regional energy security and energy convergence related, or is there a similar relationship between these two variables, I mean energy security and energy convergence, among different regions in Asia? In this slide, I would like to speak a little about research plan and structure. The main purpose of this chapter is to evaluate the impact of social and energy security on the proposed ECP variable. To this end, we model the ECP and employ different explanatory variables based on the Beck's theory and the multidimensional security indicator of Baldwin. Furthermore, the panel data framework is employed for the defined Asian regions by the United Nations GeoSchem, which are Central Asia, Eastern Asia, Southeastern Asia, Southern Asia, and Western Asia. And to capture the impact of coronavirus, the control variable of COVID-19 death, which is percent of cases, is employed in the empirical model. And the proposed research structure contains 7 suggested sections from introduction, literature review, energy convergence, and energy security, which are so, I think they are interesting for general readers of the handbook, and then model specification and empirical findings. Because this chapter is prepared for a handbook, so these 2 sections, model specification and empirical findings, will be short because the general readers will be so interesting in some general topics and general concepts. So I will try to clarify and explain more about energy convergence and energy security in the first 3rd sections. And then lastly, I try to provide some discussion, concluding remarks, and policy implications for scholars, countries, and policy makers. And about the expected policy implications, I guess that my chapter will have some fresh, new, and practical policy implications. For example, I will try to provide some policies to improve energy security and lower risk society during after the COVID-19, which will be so practical and important for Asian countries. And in addition, I would like to discuss about the new idea of energy neighborhood policy, ENP, which is the modified version of European neighborhood policy, ENP. It would be an interesting and useful instrument to foster stability, security, and prosperity in the Asian energy markets. Thank you very much for your precious attention, and I appreciate any valuable comments and points to improve the content of my chapter. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Hanshin. The final one is the topic is energy cooperation between China and Africa to alleviate energy poverty. Okay, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Taghizadeh-Hesary by name. I will say good morning, everyone. I'm making my presentation from the region of Africa. We are this is morning here. Yeah, my presentation center on the energy cooperation between China. Oh, sorry, please, I won't be able to project my presentation because I'm on the mobile phone. I have issue with using my laptop. But Professor Farhad is there to project my presentation. He has a copy of my presentation. Thank you. So my presentation is centered on the energy cooperation between China and Africa to alleviate poverty, energy poverty. My presentation is being divided into this section. First, I'm going to talk about the background. then the motivation, then the methodology, then lastly, the policy implication. Yeah, looking at the background, my main reason for talking about this collaboration between China and Africa is because of the investment, China investment in Africa. More recently, China investment in African region has increased to over 110 billion US dollar, and and again, China also is the first continent in the world to have the highest investment in Africa. Africa alone has contributed to about 28% contribution to China foreign revenue. And again, the flow of foreign investment between China and Africa has doubled in between the year 2013 to year 2008. So this is one reason why this cooperation, the research is necessary to fine-tune the benefit of this investment in Africa. And again, study has also been carried out to connect this benefit of China in investment in Africa. So so many people, like we have about 3 studies who have connected. One of the studies talked about that the trading and the investment of China in Africa is a benefit to Africa because it promotes economic development and also infrastructural development, as well as it provides foreign aid. So these are the main reasons. Given the background, so we are motivated. First, yeah, they've talked about how the benefit Africa can benefit from the investment in Africa. So we have decided, okay, one, the increase in investment between China and Africa is one reason why I intend to work on this project. But how? Yes, we know that is investment. The investment is increasing. In fact, China investment in Africa is more than the US investment in Africa. So China is more or less the driver of economy of Africa. So what we are being motivated to do in this is to know, has this investment really helped in alleviating the energy poverty in the region? Yeah. Also, we also discovered that previous literature have been worked upon in this area, but they only centers on looking at the global investment on Africa, which I say that is not really important, because if you look at the percentage of investment Africa have is highly dependent, or let me say, the investment is going to China. Over 78% of the investment Africa made are in China. So it doesn't make sense that we look at the global investment, because the main target which Africa benefit most from the Chinese. So my study, I criticize what that had been done before. So for this reason, my own study is going to center on the Chinese investment in Africa and how it can reduce energy poverty. And the next is how is this research going to be carried out? Yes, we are not going to be more of quantitative. We are going to employ both quantitative and qualitative method approach. First, I will first use a descriptive method, where I will use some statistical data to explain how this is beneficial, the investment is beneficial or not beneficial. And secondly, I also look, which is the larger part of my method I will use is literature. We're going to look at documents and policies and cooperation signed between African countries and China, and so that we can we can evaluate then and see how it has helped in promoting energy, and not just energy, but clean energy. And lastly, I'm also going to use the graphic method. In this graphic method, we looked at how the investment trending between African and China and Africa has also helped and poverty elevation. And lastly, it's the policy implication. My study going to be an important reference to policymaker in understanding the design-specific energy poverty reduction policies through Chinese business. What I mean here is this: at the end of the at the end of the research, is going to be a very holistic document that can be used by both Africa and China to see how they can benefit from the cooperation in investment in energy, are also in the reduction in energy poverty in the case of Africa. And lastly, also the decision, this research going to make a decision maker can be used to argue on better practice in labor migration from China. What I mean here is this: we know both the investment does not really mean investment in the money in the fund, but also it also involves investment in labor, human capital. So it's also going to help both China and Africa to make a good holistic policy on labor migration. So how it will benefit the China, and also how it benefit the Africa as a whole. Because in the area of construction in Africa, we have a whole lot of labor migration from China. So this document is going to serve as an open eye and for policymakers in both regions, the Africa and the China, to see how they can better give a policy on labor cooperation. I think I'm ending my presentation here. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, my presentation is a bit brief, but it's a whole a lot of content. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Zachary. I think now we have finished all the 5 presentations, and thanks to all the interesting topic in this session. So as we know, the basic concept of energy security is we should have more energy supply and we should have affordable energy prices. So a general view is that now the energy security has become better and better. But now, you know, we have facing to the energy transition from the fossil fuel to the renewable energy. So some situation is changing. We have the unstable energy system. So now some new situation has emerged. So we should think what is the new cases, or what is the new question in the topic of energy security? Because energy security is an old topic, but they have some new situation. So we should discussing more about the new cases in this topic, and also the similar of the energy poverty, because there is a strong linkage between the energy security and the energy poverty. If we have the unstable energy system, so we should face to the increase of energy poverty. So I think we should learn more from this topic. Thank you. So some question?
Yeah, thank you very much, Zhang. So I have 2 comments on 2 presentations. So the chapter by Dr. Hafezy, so which is on energy security in the case of Iran. Dr. Hafezy, are you here?
Yes.
Okay. So which is on the case of Iran. Thank you very much. It is interesting. So I have this comment. So please make the part which is on the definition of energy security as briefly as possible, because we have several chapters on energy security. So if each chapter wants to define what is energy security and reviewing the same literature for energy security, so it means these several chapters will be overlapping. So please make those general parts as briefly as possible. Then although your chapter is on Iran, but I request that you widen it not only for Iran, but also for other resource-rich economies, because most of these resource-rich economies, they have same issues, similar issues. For example, when we are looking at the case of Iran, or Kazakhstan, or for example, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and many other fossil fuel-based economies, because of existence of subsidy and subsidized energy. So the energy consumption per unit of GDP is very high. Energy intensity is very high. Efficiency is low in different sectors because energy is very cheap. So what is the right energy policy for these cases of countries? So it means the first part of chapter is not specific to Iran, but also to all resource-rich economies. But in the second part, it would be interesting that you talk about the case of Iran, because Iranian case is special since Iran is resource-rich economy and at the same time under sanction. So sanctions are endangering the energy security of the country because of this matter, that flow of finance and flow of foreign investment are almost prevented. So it means development of fossil fuel-based project and also renewable energy projects endangered. And so this is endangering the energy security, not only for the finance and investment, but also for the technologies. For example, when we are talking about renewable technology, renewable energy projects, we need to rely on trade. Some technologies are coming from abroad and some of them are domestically. So it means development of green technologies and green project is also endangering. So the energy security of the country is affecting. So in your chapter, it would be interesting that you cover both cases. The first part is not specific to Iran, but the second part is specific to Iran. And one comment on Dr. Vijeta's chapter, this is also interesting. Just my suggestion is that you widen the literature review. So widen, because I found that the literature review part is not large, so please widen that part. Yeah, this is from my side. Dayong, do you have any comments?
Yes, well, we'll just follow some of the comments to, there are some general comments to all the contributors, and also I will have a few specific comments. First thing is, I think one of these very important thing discussed by Zhang is we're in the, I think we're in a different stage of development at the moment. So many countries now committed carbon neutrality, and coping with climate change is really going to change a lot of things, including energy security and including energy poverty. So say, for example, like Jia talk about a new era. So what is the new era? And one thing happening in China is carbon neutrality, that we were expecting to see this clean energy transition. That will definitely have a strong impact to energy poverty issues and also energy security issues. Recently, these power shortages across the world, or the energy crisis across the world, that will lead to responses to different countries. I hope we can, in different topic, if you can address this issue, taking that into consideration when you look at the historical development and look forward, that would be very important. I'm also very interested in Dr. Hafiz's topic. I think is energy security is an important issue, but specifically targeting resource-rich countries is a very interesting topic. I think that's been less discussed. There are two things over here. One is movements against climate change will definitely affecting energy sector, including that's potentially going to impose strong impact on resource-rich countries. One thing is that if we move away from fossil fuels towards the green, clean energy, then there will be issues like stranded assets. So that means the resource-rich countries will face energy security more towards like other security issues, like general economic impacts that will, they're going to figure out a way to get out of that condition or how to deal with those stranded assets. So that's definitely something policy relevant, and if we could address those, that would be very, very nice. And my specific comments also on, I think we have here, the convergence. Where's mine? Yeah, energy convergence. Ethan, your work here. I think it's a bit of confusing for me when I look at your presentation, because you're talking about convergence on efficiency and energy use. I think it's probably need to be clear. Energy efficiency is one thing I think we've been discussed that once in other papers, but energy use, convergence on energy use, another thing. So how do we, how do you plan to look at this issue, energy use or efficiency, and how they connect to energy security? That's what you probably need to think about. I think otherwise, I think that they're very interesting in general. So looking forward to some good works from you guys. Thank you.
Okay, thanks Dayong and Farhad. So they provide some new questions, especially for the resource-rich countries. As we know, for the resource-rich countries, the energy security means they should also diversify their export. But now a new question raised is, if we don't need fossil fuel, so what does these countries can do? So you can think more about this question. Okay, thanks. Session is closed, so it's turn you to Farhad.
Okay, thank you very much, Zhang. So, Dr. Hafiz, do you want to say something?
No. Thank you for good comments.
It's my pleasure. Okay, thank you very much, Zhang, for chairing this session, and thanks to the presenters for their presentation. Let's move to the last session of today. So in this session, we're supposed to have 3 presentations, but the first presentation, which is by, which is the first chapter, which is by Gianfranco Gianfrante and Eflam Gueguen, he's not available, so he apologized that he cannot participate because of an issue. So the session is on policies for sustainable energy innovations and technologies. Then we will have 2 presentations. The first is by Dr. Subramanian from India. The chapter is on leveraging digitalization for improving energy efficiency. Dr. Subramanian, please, in 10 minutes. Please turn on your mic, unmute your mic. I cannot hear you, please unmute it. Okay. So, Dr. Subramanian, can you please share?
Yes. Yeah, I am sharing.
Okay. Good. Thank you. It's clear. Please start.
Yeah. Greetings from India. My name is Subramanian. First of all, I would like to thank the sponsors and the editors, Dr. Farhad and Dr. Dayong. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to talk to you regarding my chapter on leveraging digitalization for improving energy efficiency. I think I will. Okay. The digital transformation, I would start with the background of my chapter. Digital transformation provides opportunities for innovation, business models, and energy efficient products and services. I would like to change. Yeah. Efficient energy reduces the amount of energy required to produce the products and services, and also reduces the effects of air pollution and carbon emission. Energy efficiency is changing today with new digital technologies and applications enabling greater control, optimization, and analytics. Digital transformation is set to revolutionize the global energy system with profound impacts on both energy demand and supply. Digital technologies can increase energy efficiency in a number of different ways, which I will be dealing with in my chapter, through better optimization tools, increased availability of processes, and more efficient maintenance management. Objectives and methodology. This study explores the possibilities of leveraging digitalization for increasing energy efficiency in the context of meeting energy optimization targets towards achieving sustainable development goals. The study seeks to identify key focus areas such as energy efficiency strategies, changes in technologies, the resultant energy savings, and the emissions reduction potential. This study aims to provide qualitative perspectives based on literature review and insights into key aspects of digitalization, challenges, future direction, and suggestions for improving energy efficiency. The study uses real digitalization, important policy initiatives, and research efforts. Digitalization benefits are covered, such as the digitalization makes the energy system smarter, efficient, reliable, to boost the efficiency, and helps integration of more renewables into the system. Digitalization applications can enable district energy systems to fully optimize the plant and network operation while empowering the end consumer. Digital technologies are a key enabler for sector coupling and hybridization. Digital devices potentially offer large improvements in energy efficiency for the transport, buildings, and industry sectors. The challenges and future of leveraging the digitalization for improving the energy efficiency. Despite benefits, there are challenges such as data security and privacy, as well as questions about data ownership that are required to be tackled. Prevalence of more devices and servers to house the data they produce could cause large net increases in energy use if not managed carefully. The key challenge for policymakers is to steer it in a way that maximizes the benefits for the energy system and minimizes the negative impacts. Despite the challenges, digitalization is set to transform the global energy system with profound impacts on both energy demand and supply. Digitalization increases energy efficiency through technologies that gather and analyze data before using it to make changes to the physical environment either automatically or through human intervention. The digitalization and energy efficiency, the chapter which I am going to present is basically, currently the digitalization potentially has changed the traditional conceptions, which was basically on the demand side induced efficiency and demand side flexibility, which is now currently it will be system energy efficiency. That is how it is going to be. The digital technologies expand our view of energy efficiency from end-use efficiency to system efficiency, which incorporates, apart from the multiple benefits of end-use efficiency, increased energy system cost savings, variable renewables integration, and energy consumer empowerment. How the digital data analysis is carried out is also dealt with. Data gathering technologies such as sensors and smart meters collect data on energy use and other conditions affecting energy use. Data are processed into useful information through data analysis technologies such as artificial intelligence algorithms. Finally, the processed information is sent to devices that can affect physical changes to optimize the energy use. That is the flow diagram which is mentioned. Further, the digital tools and applications for improvement of energy efficiency is also will be dealt. From oil and gas reservoirs sensors to the rise of automated vehicles, digitalization has a significant impact on energy production and consumption. Digital technologies are already widely used in all energy end-use sectors. More and more residential and commercial buildings are equipped with smart appliances and intelligent energy management systems. Advanced robotics and 3D printing are becoming standard practices. The interaction between automated, connected, electric, and shared ACS mobility will shape future energy consumption in the transport sector. There are smart applications such as smart buildings, vehicles, and industrial facilities to provide new sources of flexible load to energy system, which can help curtailment on energy side and support communities to consume energy. Digital tools can be used to combine data collected from government policies to determine buildings' adherence to performance standards. Digitalization also helps to reduce carbon emissions by improving energy efficiency, optimizing energy management, coordinating supply and demand in electricity distribution, and improving operational efficiency. This slide shows the digitalization opportunities in residential buildings. The table will be dealt with the technology used and the benefit achieved and the energy savings, such as say for example, using smart thermostats, heating and cooling are controlled remotely. The energy savings are approximately 5 to 20%. And smart homes, a combination of smart technology provides control, measurement, monitoring, and management, where the energy savings is up to 30%. And in the similar fashion, the digitalization opportunities in commercial buildings are also compiled, and it will be presented in my chapter. And there is what is called the smart digitalized cities, which is as per IEA, the readiness for smart digitalized cities are given in this diagram. The objective is to promote sustainable and inclusive cities that provide a core infrastructure and give a decent quality of life to citizens, a clean and sustainable environment, and application of smart digital solutions. This diagram shows the various the readiness for smart digitalized cities. Then coming to the energy efficiency policies, this requires policy makers to interact with a diverse set of different stakeholders, including end users, service, and data providers. Developing policies to effect broad changes meeting the needs of diverse groups requires detailed data, which is difficult and also costly to achieve. Digital tools can be used to provide easier access to data and to foster connections necessary for the next generation of energy efficiency policy. There exists enormous potential for leveraging the digital tools at all stages of the policy cycle, such as design, implementation, and monitoring. Policy makers should aim to measure the value of integrated energy efficiency. Secondly, to expand the energy efficiency ecosystem, and also to allow new innovative market-based policy approaches. Such policy implications will be dealt with in my chapter. As a conclusion on policy implications, effective use of digital tools requires consideration of the following: building a positive digital mindset among citizens, participatory approaches that engage all stakeholders involved and allow time to adapt. Digital tools need to address cybersecurity and privacy concerns in order to earn users' trust and confidence. Clear communication is required. Clean and anonymized timely data be made accessible to policymakers. Open source digital tools for energy efficiency can be a powerful driver for technology and business model innovation and regulatory frameworks. Digital transformation brings both advantages and disadvantages to existing workforces and uses digital tools for energy efficiency accordingly. And further, based on the findings, the following recommendations will be offered, such as the government policies should be flexible to meet the needs of energy sector, setting up a national R&D institutional framework for digital products, developing application centers to enhance the capabilities of producers, development of safety standards for energy efficiency, capacity building for law enforcement officers to combat illegal trade, development of digital applications and productivity improvement tools, use of artificial intelligence and Internet of Things and other digital applications and devices, development of data security and cyber protection, and ensuring equitable access to digital tools and infrastructure. That is the end of my session.
Thank you very much, Dr. Subramanian, for your presentation. It's an interesting chapter.
Yeah.
So we will have discussion at the end of this session.
Sure.
So the second presentation and the last presentation of this session and today is by Dr. Hadi Watankha and Dr. Jaber Fallah Ardeshir. So the presentation is on effective factors and policy in electrical energy security. So, Dr. Fallah, are you available? Dr.
Okay.
Fallah.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you for your preparation of this meeting. Our title is about effective factors and policies in electrical engineering security, which be prepared by me and my college. And I have a request from my college to present this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jaber Fallah. And am I audible?
Yes, it's clear, please.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be with distinguished professors and colleagues in this online event. I would like to thank the organizers and sponsors of this workshop for providing an opportunity for presenting our book chapter at this workshop. Let me just share the presentation and So the title of our chapter is Effective Factors and Policies in Electrical Energy Security. And my dear professor, Dr. Taghizadeh-Hesary, and I are working on this chapter to prepare the final format. As you know, the electricity is now one of the fundamentals of any civilization, and lack of access to reliable and affordable sources of electrical energy will be counted as a significant obstacle in the development of a community. That is why politicians, decision makers, and regulators are interested in the vital field of electrical energy security, which is now considered as a definition expressing the reliable and uninterruptible flow of affordable energy. WS, or the short form of electrical energy security, is one of the main global energy security challenges, which researchers have provided various solutions and procedures to get closer to what is called secure access to electricity. However, due to advancements in electrical engineering technologies and immersion of cutting-edge tools and facilities in all the three sections of generation, transmission, and distribution, concerns burgeon about the capabilities and vulnerabilities of those techs, and therefore a continuous need for EES research is considered necessary. In the rest of this presentation, I will generally talk about the background of this subject, the necessity of EES. Next, a concept of this chapter will be explained. Moreover, the structure of this chapter will be briefly mentioned. Also, the importance of this chapter and its idea will be clarified from a policy-making point of view. Eventually, I will be ready to eagerly listen to the precious questions and comments of dear professors and organizers. Well, if I want to talk about the concept, the background of our chapter, I can say that currently the world is experiencing devastating events in the matter of electrical energy security. While Europe is encountering a challenge on energy supply from Russia to fuel its power plants, its fossil power plants, and planning for renewable energy-based power generation assets in their power grids. Beside of them, the Middle East suffering from harsh sanction system along with terrorist attacks and regional wars, and America witnessing highly frequent cyber attacks on its energy infrastructure along with improper pricing system in some of the states that can end up in catastrophic failures of the grid, such as what we have seen recently in the Houston outage incident due to climate change. Understanding the nature of these challenges, along with finding out about influential factors on them, and noticing possible implementable policies to manage these occurrences simultaneously seems necessary. Moreover, having a comprehensive awareness of indicators, factors, and possible effects of policies on the overall security level of an electrical energy system can be of great importance for both the amateur and professional policymakers to virtually conceive the consequences of their probable decisions. A deep understanding of the essence of the need for EES is a requirement for studying it. The necessity of security in any dimension usually stems from the present concerns of the current state of the system and probable incidents in the future. The need for EES also stems from the uncertainty of the internal devices, such as, for example, the infrastructure resiliency, the reliability issues we may have in power system assets or such things like that. And besides, we have some external factors which are influential on the overall security of the system, like cyber attacks, the international treaties with other countries to create energy hubs and such things like that. The probability constraint must create this insight in the mind of reader that incidents, even if we have experienced similar conditions like them, are not definite or obvious, and the effective radius or variations of them are not clear to us. This condition is named the state of exception based on an insight from Carl Schmitt's belief in the concept of sovereignty. And it is kind of we cannot say that it's absolutely useful to use the previous experiences and also the case studies in this section to kind of solve the problems that we might face in the grid. But we should consider that these kind of case studies, these kind of experiences that other scientists, researchers, even the grid operators have done research about them, have studied them, and have published them, are necessary to create the initial insight in our in our management of the grid, to kind of understand the different difficulties we might face and to kind of propose a solution for them. We should consider that the total structure of the grid is not that much kind of vulnerable in front of the failures to see the destruction, the total destruction of the grid. At least we have a basic structure or defined standards to refer to it after any failure in the grid. That is why we define our tools and factors in the operation phase, and also try to rationalize and mathematize the contingency events of the grid. Following this issue, we try to determine the dimensions of the situation along with carrying out necessary studies on it to define a new normal situation that has arisen following the changes made in the old normal situation. I mean, before we face any failures or any power shortages, outages, or such things like that. The concept of this chapter is about identifying responsible factors and policies in ensuring the security of the grid in all three phases of planning, operation, and maintenance. There are many decisions and policies that are responsible for the activity of a power system and have different objectives from each other. As we can see, like if we interpret a system, if we emulate a system such a pack of gears, we should understand that each of our decisions and policies we choose to implement in the system is like a gear we add to it. And we should understand that these gears have different objectives and they will have different consequences on our grid operation. So to have a general knowledge of the possible policies and procedures that are specifically effective on the EES, case studies and experiences from different systems must be studied to extract the useful guideline of how we should be prepared to face grid failures that put the security of it at stake. The structure of this chapter is divided into 6 sections: resource planning, infrastructure improvements, cybersecurity, system management, grid maintenance, and market deregulation. These 6 sections are among the popular subjects in which appropriate policies can ensure the maximum security of the grid. As it can be seen, there are subsections for each of the mentioned terms that policies related to them will be discussed in this chapter, along with available case studies that can prove the success of these policies in meeting the security goals that grid operators have had in those conditions. I should add that this case studies in this section, the structure of our chapter, will be discussed in, will be divided into 3 main categories of developed, developing, and underdeveloped countries, how they have faced the problems in these 6 sections, and how they have kind of performed appropriately. They have generated solutions to solve any kind of failures or problems they have faced. And the next section we will talk about is the policy implications. The policy implications of this chapter can be about clarifying possible policies and decisions for amateur policymakers, along with their analysis and evaluation in the stated conditions to reach the EES, considering the process of proposal, analysis, evaluation, legislation, and execution of a policy as a kind of game. A successful player in this game must have a clear perspective of what advantages, disadvantages, capacities, and what specifications does its system possess to decide on the suitable measures and policies to undertake to secure and easy access to stable and affordable electrical energy service for all the members of society. As we can see, the systems are different, the configurations are different, the nature of the systems are different, actually. So we cannot kind of write the same prescription for any kind of system we face, any kind of power systems we face. So the grid operators must learn these kind of base guidelines, these kind of initial solutions, in order to create their own mindsets of how they will perform in the times of contingency events, because there are numerous factors effective on the decisions of grid operators, such as as I have said, grid specifications, the senior management level considerations, even the national security issues they might have, these kind of issues that are effective in the decision making of grid operators are kind of constructed on the basis of these main factors that we will talk about them in this chapter. And for the end of this presentation, I'm grateful for, again, I'm grateful for this opportunity to explain the idea behind our book chapter, and I'm thankful for the time and attention you spend on this presentation. This is the end of the presentation, and I'm all ears to your sayings. Thanks. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much for your interesting presentation, Mr. Hadi. So the chapter is interesting. Both chapters that presented in this session are interesting. So I have a few comments. So regarding Dr. Subramanian's chapter, so your chapter is providing lots of good background information and mechanisms that how digitalization can improve the energy system. This is good. But in order to make the chapter more attractive and more practical, so I would like to request that you add examples and cases. For example, you are mentioning that digitalization can improve the energy efficiency. So bring some examples. For example, this company or this country did this and this much improvement in the energy efficiency. Or artificial intelligence, big data, blockchain technologies, how improved the energy demand, energy supply, energy efficiency. So it means instead of, I mean, it's good to have these macro view and talking about mechanism, background, and so on. But in addition to that, in each section, bring some examples from the real world to be tangible, to be understandable for the readers. So that would be interesting. And regarding second chapter, it's interesting and also informative for me. I didn't have this knowledge about this issue about electrical and security, since the author's background is, I think it's more electrical engineering. So you see from your perspective that is interesting and can contribute to the book. Just I request that when writing your chapter, please avoid technical statements, jargons, to be understandable for the readers with different backgrounds, and that would be interesting. So Dayong, do you want to add?
Okay, yes. Thank you for both presenters. I think it is very interesting two chapters. I think especially I like the idea of digitalization, because this is really something new, and so there's a lot of discussions recently in China and internationally talking about the energy sector, digitalization, how that's going to change the world and change the efficiency, or maybe move towards carbon neutrality that requires a lot of more digitalization. But this, I think the second talk also mentioned that is in terms of cyber security. So if you remember that earlier this year, there's in the US, there were some kind of a cyber attack on the pipelines that are causing big trouble in the country. So I think, you know, if you could in your chapter, you could use that kind of case study, or you can think about when looking at the general idea of digitalization, and how could policymakers, or did they actually trying to set up certain policies that improving cybersecurity? So any kind of potential mechanism or policies that could be used to improving efficiency, at the same time reduce the risk of similar events might happen. I think that's the general comments, and similar to both. I think both papers touch this very interesting aspects. And if you could elaborate more of those basically using a more general language instead of a very professional way of talking, and then related to the policy implications and discussing the current regime and what should be done or what have been done. That could be very interesting. So once again, I thank you for both of you hard work. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Subramanian, do you want to add something or?
Well, I agree. You know, I will give more examples in my chapter. But actually, you know, I have skipped time, and you could have seen that, you know, some of the tables which I have given is indicating the smart our homes, smart buildings. Every one, you know, I have given lots of examples already given in that one. But still, I will try to incorporate more examples as you advised.
Thank you very much.
That will be done.
Thank you.
And I will certainly look into it. Thank you very much.
Perfect.
Thanks for your suggestion and recommendations.
Thank you very much. Is there any comment, question from other participants? Okay. If not, then we came to the end of today's sessions, 3 sessions, and I would like to express my thanks to all speakers, chairs, keynote speaker that we had, and it was very interesting day with several good presentations. So we will have one more day. Please join the second day as well. And at the end of the day, tomorrow, at the end of the day in the wrap-up session, we are going to explain about the submission of the full chapter mechanisms and so on. What is the system for submission? There is a specific system that we will explain about it. So we are looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dayong.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
See you.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.